Dystopia warning, general update, general pondering, yeah. I've been sitting here this morning thinking about the post-truth era that we're living in, conspiracy, the government cashing in on that, and how disturbing it is to me. Frankly terrifying, actually. And even now, by dint of the fact that I'm on the left or I'm a Labour member, people are going to think that I have an agenda. People accuse me of being paid. No one that's pro Labour is getting paid, mate. This is about the importance of truth and objective reality. What Sunak did the other day was terrifying. Yeah, he stood up on a podium and barefaced lied to the entire country, knowing that within seconds whatever he was saying could be debunked. He did it anyway. He also lied by saying that pushing forward with achieving net zero would cost us more money. In fact, the quicker that we implement green policy, the quicker we will save money. Do you want to know who it doesn't save money? The fossil fuel industry. And why is this important? Because you've just got to look at the Tufton think tanks that are advising and getting their dirty fingers all up in our democracy. They are very shady about who they're funded by. They won't say who they're funded by. The Institute for Economic Affairs refused to, saying that their donors will get dragged online. What, you mean face basic accountability? They're the people that influence trust. Now I strongly suspect that they're influencing Sunak. Sunak, a man that, whose father-in-law has a multi-billion-pound tech company that's still benefiting from trading with Russia, recently signed billions of pounds worth of contracts with Shell and BP, which he directly benefits from. The guy that made his fortune being a hedge funder during the economic crash. Now what people need to realise is Brexit made people a lot of money. We're talking like hedge funders like Crispin O'Day, who donated eye-watering amounts to vote leave. Other people that are pretty sketchy about who funded them. Now the net zero thing and how that relates to Brexit is that the ERG, which is the secretive yet taxpayer funded faction of the Conservative Party, has now turned into the net zero scrutiny group. And I'd imagine if you scratch the surface on that, you'll find yet more fossil fuel donors. This is how it works. I think all these things combined kind of give Rishi Sunak a very good reason to grant new gas and oil licences, do all the things that will stop us from reaching, net zero, while simultaneously claiming that we're going to... It subverts all fact and logic. The Conservatives haven't governed properly in the entire 13 years that they've been in power. If they had, they probably would have had few complaints. They don't win elections on merit. They win elections by having extraordinary amounts of money to push out spam bots, to con people with misleading election campaign material. They have billionaire press barons on their side that will print whatever they want. They get to play on easy mode when it comes to the media, which means there's not enough scrutiny. George Eustice went on Channel 4 and more or less admitted to Krishnan and Guru Murphy that this was rhetoric. What Sunak said in the speech was never policy. Victoria Derbyshire handed Robert Jenrick, the guy who painted over the Mickey Mouse murals to stop refugee children feeling welcome. When she questioned him, held him accountable, he crumbled like rack in a primary school. And how does this feed into the age of conspiracy? Well, who benefits from people believing anything? People with power. You just got to look at the Brexit debates, haven't you? When they would peddle this whole false equivalence aspect when it came to truth and objective reality, where you'd have someone with mountains of economic experience on one side and a guy on the other side, tobacco stained with opinion, thinking that that was of equivalence to the person with all the experience and the knowledge. With conspiracy comes people believing anything that someone with a bit of charisma tells them. Johnson, con man, that's how he got the ball over the line. People are questioning the mainstream media. The mainstream media is virtually everything you consume. It's an extremely broad topic, and again, it's the whole notion of, experts being questioned. Gove coined that, didn't he? We've had enough of experts. Well, look where that's fucking got us. Look at Brand, charismatic leader, saying what he wants on a platform with no scrutiny, with no regulations, not the kind that a journalist would need to uphold, to, multiple sources, evidence. There's no evidence or heft to anything that Brand is saying. It's all rhetoric. Look at the government. It's all rhetoric. And I suspect the government loves the fact that we're living in the age of conspiracy because it lets them wreak chaos. And again, who benefits from chaos? The powerful, the disaster capitalists, people with vested interests. The most powerful people in our government have vested interests. Now, as I'm saying all this, I'm aware it sounds like a conspiracy. The difference is this can all be backed up. There are articles from credible investigative journalists that will tell you about, well, what we know of the Tufton Street think tanks that can prove that this was never policy. And the way that Sunak went about it in itself subverts our democracy. It avoids accountability, it avoids scrutiny. And when you add on to the fact that we have a government that actively promotes conspiracies against groups of people, be it trans people, asylum seekers, whoever they're sticking the boot in this week in order to deflect from their failings, oh, you know, all hell breaks loose, doesn't it? Especially when they've got very powerful people that can promote their nonsense and put front page splashes or headlines because they know, or they bank on people just looking at the headline and they're not thinking any deeper about the context of what's being said or implementing critical thinking. Because what does conspiracy, what does rhetoric need to survive? A lack of critical thinking. And unfortunately, because we have quite a reverent and submissive society, I think in part due to the fact that we've got a royal family that thinks that they're born to rule over us. We have people that still doff their cap at people that are posh and think that they're better than them. We have people that trust the government. I mean, we are you should be able to trust your government, but we can't anymore. It's terrifying, and I don't really know where that leaves us, because it gives the immeasurably powerful even more power. It gives arguments that lack credibility by dint of repetition. It's bizarre. I don't say anything that I say because I'm trying to play for a particular team. I say it because it's frankly terrifying that people don't believe facts anymore. And because most of us are unlikely ever to be a billionaire, we're the people that are going to suffer the most as a consequence of that. That's what people need to understand. We're the pawns in a game in which they say up is down and down is up. Because people that are more likely to fall for anything are far more easier to control, aren't they? Truth matters, logic matters, critical thinking matters. Believing people with expertise, with training, with education, that provide evidence matters. And I sincerely fear that as a country, we're losing it. They've even made people think that those standing up for all of our rights, like protesters, are somehow the enemy. That is beyond all logic. Who's more on your side? The people that know what's going on and are trying to do something about it, or the people that are doing nothing about it because it will earn them an extra few million? So when they get turfed out of the positions of power they don't deserve, they'll be set for life, you know? What about us? What about our lives? There's something that those people that feel they're born to rule over us can destroy before they run off into the sunset to their manor house. Because that's how it works. And it's not how it should work. People should be way more angry about it. And stop believing the con. Do I have any faith that they will? Time will tell. Anyway, thanks for coming to my mildly depressing TED Talk.